Nerd on the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
I have to sleep and spend time at home and do yoga and clean my house and bake and cook. So the first
And I did none of
2
it.
weeks.
No.
What is everyone? Welcome to Nerd on the Podcast you didn't need, but you deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome.
Yeah, you are.
Today, we got a little something special going on. We got a little RS, topical RS, if I may. This is Quarantine RS. We're going to be covering kind of what our day-to-days have been like, how we're staying positive, and maybe a special guest can talk, shed a little light on something that none of us have experienced that we may learn something from. Yeah. We got a little junior bacon Western Chi here.
Everyone's like,
their
wait,
uncle,
what?
excuse me, I forgot the uncle. Yeah. But before we get that started, I'm Corey.
And I am Tom.
I am Ali.
I am Caitlin.
And I am Josh. And this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks like bonus episodes. You get bonus content all over the place. You do get discounts on merch. You do get early access to all of our episodes. And you do get special servers within our Discord server that are only for you, the people of the Nerd On Nation. But yeah, do join our the nation. It's nerdon.io/Patreon. And then my next message is do come join us on our Discord, where you can talk with us and other fans from video games to gardening. It's all covered. Nerdon.
How much does that cost?
It's free. Free 90 free.
90 free.
There it is. There it is.
Nerdon.io/Discord. Come join the community. We love all of you. And this is the time to do it, to connect digitally. But also, this episode is, as always, brought to you by our partners, Apogee and Odyssey Headphones. Apogee, we are using their microphones, the five of us hosts, the Height mic, the ultimate podcasting microphone. But it's an amazing microphone, especially in these times that we are in. We are able to continue to keep making our content and to keep connecting with you, our audience, and Odyssey headphones. We are using their LCD ones. We managed to disperse them, except for Ollie, because Ollie said, no, I'm not going to do that. Even though I said I was going to do that, I'm not going to do that.
Don't worry, everyone. After the quarantine, we're going to whip the shit out of them. I promise.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There will be
in Smash
much
Bros.
Promise threats.
In Smash Bros.
We're starting this off.
In Smash Brothers, just grab me and fall off the ledge.
Yeah.
There we go.
Perfect.
That's
what we'll do.
Getting past the housekeeping, as Corey mentioned, we do have a special guest, one of the Nerd On family, Will.
Indeed.
He has written He has written articles. He's done some videos with us. He's gone to E3s with us. He's
put up with me a lot.
Yes, he is one of our assistant editors on the writing side. Not one of. He is the assistant editor.
On the writing side.
The assistant. Accurate.
The assistant editor.
He is dope. He's also uncle to my dogs. But welcome, Will. Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here.
Also, let's give the audience a little bit more about you, because I mean, you do some cool stuff. What do you do for the pay the bills job, or if stuff you can say?
My day job is as a music editor, so I work on a few TV shows and movies here and there. If you've seen the Jay and Silent Bob reboot that came out in the last year, that was me as the assistant music editor. It was a lot of fun.
Did a great job.
Yeah, music and television and film. That's my.
There you are.
That's awesome.
Dope.
Hell yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Also had one of the coolest band names of all time. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yes. Thank you from everyone at DF, including myself.
DF. That's how it's pronounced, by the way.
We have a lot of fun. Yes.
That's crazy.
DF.
But yeah, let's get this show on the road. Again, the purpose of this episode is really trying to share and connect with you, the listeners at home, and trying to figure out, trying to spread some positivity. So, I mean, let's kind of start at the top, a little bit of like when I kind of want to like retread like how we all started like hearing about it and figuring it out and what it really meant. For all of us, like I guess an initial reaction of some sorts, right?
Wind the clocks back.
An initial okay.
For me, when on my drive to work and my drive home from work every day, I am one of those NPR news snobs. So I listen to that both ways, on my way to work and on my way back. And for months, they had been talking about it, and it hadn't really affected here. They were talking about it overseas and stuff like that. And I was like, well, this is kind of wild, and just kind of listening to it kind of unravel was very Orwellian over the news radio. And like,
oh yeah,
finally hearing there was a case in the US, and then there was a case in Orange County. And then there was a case in Long Beach. And then like hearing, they started their evening news cycles would stop being so much as like interview news as more as they would play clips from the House and press meetings and, interviews with doctors and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is kind of strange. And then it kind of got down to the final days, and I would listen to this on my commute, and I was just starting to be like, oh shit, we need to be on top of this. Like no one seems to. I would like look around and just see people like hanging out at bars and stuff on my drive, and I was like, oh fuck, this is. I wish I could just blast this radio station for everyone on the street right now, because they would start to get it. And I remember there was a final day, and Tom was there. Tom was the one who kind of like field goaled it for me, like kicked the final punt through the field goals, where I was like, hey, I think I might head to the gym on my own tonight. And Tom was like, ooh, may not want to. And I was like, oh yeah. Cause I was just going to go to the sauna. I didn't even think about touching any equipment or anything, but that was like my final day of being like, maybe things will be okay. And then after that, I was like, oh shit, we're going in lockdown.
Never mind.
So it was a very slow creep for me. But a very bizarre one, especially in the final like 2 weeks listening to the radio stations.
Yeah. I'll go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pretty similar. At the time when everything was starting, I was working, and every day to and from work, Bonnie and I would listen to news radio. And at first it was just like little stories here and there. And then it was pretty much that's what you were tuning into. It wasn't anything else but talking about that. And at first, I mean, to out myself, it was a little bit like, okay, guys, because they were making a really big deal about it with like a case or 2 cases or 3 cases. And then it started to get much bigger than that. And then we weren't working and chilling out at home, and just like social media kind of became the news source in a way. I don't go on Facebook all that often, but when I would, it would be stories, news stories, all sorts of different sources. Yeah, memes.
Lots of memes. So many memes.
As Tom.
Memes, yeah.
There it is.
And then it really came down to like Nerd On talking about it, because I know that Tom and Corey were going to the gym pretty regularly. And then it was like, oh, I can't even go to the gym now. They're closing.
Yeah.
And then it just like, I feel like maybe a 72-hour period, it changed. Like we as Nerd On were talking like, hey, maybe this might be a thing that will affect us. And we were going to continue business as usual. And then not so much.
It was really like, if I were to just, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, we kind of kept business as usual for a week. And then like, it was like the next week and we were like, should we do a remote?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, it was like a roller coaster. Like it's like that. It was that slow, like, oh shit, something's happening. Something's going to happen. And then those 72 hours was when the coaster like hits that peak and just free falls.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
Caitlin, you want to go next?
Yeah. So I had been hearing about this since the beginning of the year about what was happening over in China and how it was starting to spread around. And then when I saw it was starting to get to other countries, I was like, oh, it's coming. Like, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to hit us. I'm not really sure, what all that's going to entail for us, but it's definitely coming.
Like what the impact's going to be, but someone's going to have it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like, it was kind of a like both an awareness and a denial about it of like, oh, it's coming, but like not right now. Not now.
Yeah.
Not now though.
It's gonna be fine. Fire around.
It's gonna
you.
be fine.
It's gonna be
It'll
fine.
be later on, sitting with the coffee and the table. Being
Like it'll be fine.
This is
They'll
fine.
close a Chipotle or two, and then it'll be fine after that.
Yeah, it's always Chipotle.
It's always Chipotle somehow.
But so then I had like planned this trip to a Korean bathhouse with a bunch of friends for like 2 months at least on the like 17th. And it wasn't until like the 17th hit that we were like, maybe we shouldn't go. Yeah. And I'm always one of those, like, I hate running out of things. So I have like 50 million of the same thing. So when I heard about the shutdown, I ran to the store and get whatever, perishable things. Cause I knew we were like everywhere was going to sell like that. Like toilet paper was already pretty much going at that point. But then like after like realizing how deep we were in, I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take for other people to accept it. Because that was, I even had family members who were like, they're blowing this out of proportion. This is no big deal. And then as the weeks progressed, they were like, well, I guess it's a little more serious than we thought. Yeah. Oh, okay. People, like a lot of people are dying.
It's been the theme of this.
Right. Yeah. Right. And there's like, I remember all the misinformation that was happening. Like people being like hand sanitizer is going to like save me from this. And then there was like, that's not going to save you. It's like, it has to be a certain percentage. So it was like everyone around me slowly learning about, it's self-included, about, health standards and safety,
best
practices and all that kind of stuff. So it was a strange, slow wave that like, and there's still a lot of misinformation, which is like blowing my mind, but also not because of how things and
2020
things
baby
just like snapped. Like the freaking snapping happened where it was like we're opening where everything's fine, and then it was like the lights just shut off and everyone's like go home. So
Well, I mean, to kind of add to that is like how sudden it can be is like at the time of this recording, a couple of days ago, it was announced that masks will be required.
Yeah,
which,
at least in LA.
Yeah, in LA, and it was just like, oh hey, BT Dub, this is now a thing. So
right, and it's also been extended to the 15th.
Yeah, May 15th.
Yeah, May 15th. So it just like it's been crazy, and I feel like everyone I know has whiplash just from like things were fine, hunky dory. Maybe we should be concerned. We're concerned. We're really concerned. So it's, but like at the same time, seeing how everybody deals with it has been very interesting. We'll get into that later though. So that's been it for me.
Ollie?
For me, it kind of came a little slow and kind of came out of nowhere for me because, and this is something I've been trying to get better at, especially after this, is it's really easy for me to tune out of like what's happening in the world, and I'm not very good.
You were also dealing with a lot of work shifting happening as well.
And I was in the middle of a work transition during all of this. So I had a pretty full plate kind of winding down, and, with like the election and like our work, it's really easy to tune out like what's happening in the world. And unfortunately for me, it was completely tuned out. Until like a couple weeks or like really about a week until this was getting like really serious for us. I had, kind of no idea that it was going to be something that would impact us like this. I mean, it's sort of like this naive thing, and not to get political, but, you kind of rely on, your government in a sense, because like, they helped, they prevented or helped with like the other outbreaks that have been going on. It's like, oh, like we'll get it under control. It's fine. You should. Right. And then, of course, it's something that like nobody's ever seen before, and it's unexpected, and it's behaving in ways that, nobody could have, anticipated. So that whole thing definitely kept me out of the loop. But I remember it was just going to work, and then it didn't become serious for me until I got a call from my boss in New York, who's based out of New York, out of the New York office. And he was like, we're shutting down right now, and we're doing some tests, and I want you to start, start spinning up for getting people working from home. So
Yeah.
that was yeah, and I was an IT person, the only IT person there at the studio, and they I basically had to get everybody up and running with portable computers, and it was just kind of like hectic. And in the middle of this, I didn't do a good enough job myself on getting prepared, on getting like all the supplies that I needed. So it wasn't until like Thursday or Friday that I went out looking for toilet paper, things like that. And of course,
I'll
I
raise my
happened to
hand
just
and
need it.
same for me. I did not.
Yeah,
I did not prep properly.
Yeah. And of course, we just happened to need toilet paper too, so we're like out anyways, and it was interesting to get all that when it was all happening, and there was definitely didn't hit me, like I didn't accept that it was like what it was. It was just, I was kind of just going with the motions of like, okay, we're shutting down. Okay, I'm going to work from home next week. Okay, and it didn't really start to impact me until much later, and we'll discuss it. But initially, it was just I was sort of like, okay, we're just going with the flow. This is happening, and just kind of focusing on like my work and getting prepared versus like what it actually is that that is coming. And then it took me a long time to get, not a long time, but like about a week to get like fully educated on like what it is and what's happening.
Will?
Yeah, for me, I the first thing I saw about it was back in 2019 on TikTok, actually, seeing people
Shout
talking
out
about the coronavirus. Yeah, shout out to TikTok. And at some point in February, the TikToks got a lot darker.
Masters of horror.
Yeah,
indeed. And my brother, who lives in Florida, had been planning a trip in February, and so he was going to visit California, but then for work reasons, he had to postpone to mid-March. And so he visited during a very crucial week where basically that's, for me, when everything changed. He first arrived, I hugged him when I picked him up at the airport, and we went to the grocery store and got some snacks and whatnot. And then about the second night that he was here, the NBA canceled the season, and Tom Hanks was positive. And everything changed just in an instant. And by the time he was getting ready to get on the flight back to Florida, we were elbow bumping rather than hugging. And that's for me when everything really became serious, was that week.
That's such a good example of like how things change so quickly from hugging to elbow bumping to now not even physically touching.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's weird.
I'll round it out. For me, I started hearing about it in 2019 as well, and I remember my mom, like she grew up in the ghetto, and so she's always like, "You always gotta be careful, always gotta be careful." And so like she just kind of always gave me this good idea of protection and self and like kind of distrust of like how things can be and like how things can always get bad. And I remember when she called me on the phone, she was just like, "And this damn virus." And then I was like, "Mom, what did this do to you? Like, did it go to your house and rob you and then like take your identity?" And so like I kind of like laughed about it, right? And that's kind of the interesting thing to Ali's point, where things that happen in the world hardly ever seem to affect socially what happens in America.
Exactly.
And it very much goes under the radar, but it still affects under our skin, where like economy does change, like products do change, and trades
but you still go to work, generally speaking, you still go to work the next day. You still, eat your lunch. You still talk about the newest movie coming
more
out.
Of like
it doesn't
a shift in energy and not
on.
like, it's more of a shift in
you
energy and like how everything feels to, this is actually like, it affects our world physically, like our habits and everything.
Like, stop the world. This is happening.
And I kind of want to make a testament to that, because it's like the media does such a job where it makes it where like America is kind of its island, where the entire world doesn't matter. And I think it's just a terrible thing that happens, because we need to be
a dangerous thing.
Yeah, we need to be a little bit more aware and cognizant of those things, because this is what happens. And where America, I think I would throw a guess in the dark and say 8 out of 10 people will say I felt blindsided. And it's because of those things. And for me, I started getting pretty concerned about it right before our live show, actually. And I almost had the thought of like, should we cancel?
Yeah.
Because it started getting to the point where, like I remember like in the upcoming weeks, my mom would call me and say like, hey, like be careful. And that was an interesting thing was that like I have a communication with the people who I used to live with up north in San Jose and Sacramento, and they're like so on top of it. Like they gave me so much more information than any news outlet did ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that.
Didn't
like,
it
they
hit
were the
that
ones
area first in California? Like it was more
I
of a
know
problem
Northern California.
there.
Yeah, I know. Like SF got like they were like weeks before we were in terms of like shutting down and quarantining, and then like I had
Marin County was as well.
Yeah, I had
my folks are there.
I had a group thread. They're like, hey, midnight tonight, it's gonna be shut down, and then the next day, LA, hashtag stay at home and all that stuff. So like they like that's kind of the thing. Is like you have to see it's in that like you always say like you move as fast as your slowest pace or slowest person, but you really have to start looking at the person who moves the fastest because that's the one that's actually going to be able to tell you how to curve your behaviors and stuff like that. So for me, I pride myself on actually like being pretty good at like panic situations and stuff like that. But like
keeping your composure.
Yeah, but I will say like the day before like everything went to full shutdown in LA, like I went to the grocery store upon like my supervisor's like advice or counsel.
Same, yeah.
And then and then like, it was everyone was 6 feet apart. They were only letting in certain people at a time. And I like kind of panicked, like realized like there was no bread, there was no eggs, there was no certain things, right?
What?
For me, it was the peanut butter. When I saw there was no peanut butter, I freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's real.
That's a pretty real indicator.
Yeah.
It was going
my
to
favorite
aisles. Like it wasn't just like, yeah, there's certain products that you use like toilet paper, but going to aisles and going, whoa, this whole aisle is clear.
All the soup is gone. All the instant ramen is gone.
My wife and I got the last coffee at our Ralph's, and I don't know what would have happened if I didn't get that. I would have freaked out.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't be here right now. I think is what would have happened.
I'll be honest too. Like I self-deflected a lot of like the emotional strain that it was going to have on me, and I really kind of just checked in on people that I knew. And what I found was that like it was a little bit more relieving that I found the time to kind of connect with people like from up north or family members or friends that I haven't talked to in years, and be like, hey, things are going kind of crazy. How are things with you? To kind of like see, because like at that point I had like I couldn't buy any toilet paper, and same thing like everyone else. Where like I just ran out right when everyone started buying it. So like I ended up getting a hookup from work, which is great. But like I asked everyone else like, hey, are you good with supplies? Blah blah blah. And it was actually like super nice that like people were like, I'm good here. How are you doing? And anything that kind of stopped you from reconnecting with people that you didn't connect with before, there's no excuse now. Where like now I can actually just check on your well-being and just be like, hey, like I want to be a human right now, and I want.
How's your mental health going?
Yeah, and stuff like that. So I think that kind of also transitions us to a little bit of like what we've been doing now and how we've been kind of keeping time. Right now in LA, we've been now quarantined, locked down for what, 3 weeks now? 3-4 weeks?
Yeah. I think it was 3 weeks on Thursday.
Yeah. Time is a little weird because there's a little bit of a lag between the rest of California of like when they got locked down.
Yeah.
Or Friday.
And we at the time of this recording in a couple of days was supposed to be the quote end of this order in California. And then again a couple of days ago they announced that it was extended to May 15th and masks are required and other things that
it was 4 weeks for me. It was 2 weeks at my old job, 1.5 weeks at my old job, a few days off, and then I've had 2 weeks at my new job so far.
Wow.
Sure.
But Corey, what you been up to?
Well, this is gonna sound really cheesy, but like my wife and I have such different schedules usually outside of this that we've been able to spend a lot of time together that we don't usually get. We usually have like throughout the whole week, due to either she's a voiceover actress, and so she has a lot of auditions late, and she directs late. She has odd hours. I have long hours, and I have to come home and work on extracurricular work and stuff like that. So we usually only have about 4 hours on Saturday morning to hang out, and that's our time together every week. So it's been nice to be able to slow down. We've been doing puzzles. I've been able to. My grandma, before she passed, made me a cookbook, and I've been working my way through every recipe of the cookbook, which has been awesome. I mean, aside from a few things that the ingredients have been difficult to get, But yeah, that's been a real pleasure of mine. And then just having time to actually enjoy the work I get to do on these creative projects that are outside of my day job. Because usually it's like I love doing this, but I was at work for 8 to 9 hours today, and want to spend time with my wife and relax, but I gotta edit these things or I gotta color this thing. And so being able to just like wake up, have coffee with my wife, and then come in here and be like, all right, I just get to do the shit I love to do all day has been really, y'all, I'm thriving in this situation. Like, I know it's a downer for a lot of people, but like,
yeah, I feel bad to admit that sometimes, but yeah, I agree.
Being the minor introvert that I am, it's been really wonderful to kind of just live in that. And like I was telling all of you before, whoever's watching the video here, my wife and I got to reorganize my entire office. So now I have my workspace back because for like 2 months we were redoing our closet. So everything was just pulled out into the room while we redid the closet. So it became this like storage room, and now it's a workspace again. So it's been a really eye-opening and positive experience. And it's also given me the time to slow down and connect with all my family. Like I'm doing Zoom conference calls and FaceTimes with like my grandparents more often than I ever got to. Again, because I'm not working during the time that they're like usually awake. Like I usually would get home and they'd be like, all right, we're going to bed. They're in a different time zone. So it's so far, despite everything that's going on, it's inside this 4 walls. It's been a very positive change for a moment. And so I'm trying to cling on to that the best I can.
Yeah.
Nice.
Take the opportunity.
Kaylin? What you been up to?
So a lot. So I had been essentially working like 3 to 4 jobs at once, from like the last half of 2019 and like sliding face down into 2020.
Too many jobs.
Like too many jobs. So then when this all first started, I was like, this is going to be the best. I'm going to be home all the time. Like I had just been, I got furloughed from work, but I didn't even care because I was like, oh my gosh, a break, like a mandated break.
Yes.
I can't
nothing
do
you
anything.
can do, Kaylin.
There's nothing I can do. I have to sleep and spend time at home and do yoga and clean my house and bake and cook. So the first 2 weeks. No, I did a ton. There's like so much backlog in my life of things that I've been trying to catch up on, but there's just been no time because I've been working myself to death for so long. So I was just like stoked. And then as time like went on, I was like settling into the reality of like, okay, there are some things I need to do to get serious about. Because yes, I've been furloughed and voiceover, I'm a voice actress. So there's been this massive push to have a broadcast quality home setup. And I immediately had to buy a brand new laptop, which was a big expense that I was not expecting.
It was not a Nintendo Switch.
It was not a Nintendo Switch, which
With Animal
I want
Crossing.
way more with Animal Crossing. My roommate got it, so I'm living vicariously.
Y'all can co-op at the same time.
I know,
just want to throw that out there.
Still.
But distancing.
Just saying.
I know. And then like I hooked in the laptop and it turns out another piece of equipment was too old and didn't work on it. So I was like, okay. So I have to make another thing.
Nice.
Okay.
Welcome
and then
to
at
audio.
the same time, oh, I know. Oh my God. Well, thankfully I work at a recording studio and one of the engineers there was a sweetheart and is like letting me borrow a preamp of his.
Shout out.
Dope.
So super shout out to Bronco. You saved my life. But so it's been kind of like, and there's like many other things that are happening. Like even outside of the virus, I've had people pass away. I've had friends and family deal with like some pretty low lows. Like we've lost people. There've been a lot of life shifts, a lot of people losing jobs, and like so it's been like kind of a roller coaster of like there are a lot of good things that are happening right now, and there are a lot of bad things happening right now.
Oh yeah,
too. So it's kind of I can explain my time at home as keeping a baseline. Like that has been, I would say, a good 80 to 90% of my life.
Maintain.
Home is actually home.
maintaining, like
Mhm.
like realizing that this is a scary time for everybody, but finding the ways to make it fun. Like we've all been streaming more and like making video
Mhm.
game videos and recording and everything. So it's been like it's
Trying to stay
good to have
productive.
those anchors.
Insane. Helps.
And and you have your days where you're a potato, and that's fine. But like,
Yep.
Mhm.
yeah. So
I definitely
that's
do.
been the all-encompassing world of Caitlin. Hello.
Mhm.
Who's up?
Will, what have you been up
Um,
to? What you been watching? What you been playing games? Anything?
Well, for the first couple weeks of staying at home 100% of the time, I was trying to find ways to, I guess, just keep working from home, obviously, which luckily as a music editor, that's a very feasible option.
Very fortunate.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And then in my off hours, Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal both came out right around the
yeah.
start of my quarantine. So I was very grateful for that.
Oh, we'll have to
Doom
jump on some
Eternal
Animal Crossing
especially.
together.
Yeah.
Hmm?
We'll have to jump on some Animal Crossing together.
Yes, we will, definitely.
Sorry,
Alright.
sorry, Caitlin.
Sorry, Caitlin.
No, it's fine.
I think I'll go buy it right now too.
Don't worry, I'll play some Overwatch with you.
I'm kidding.
Thank
Go,
you.
go on, Will. Go on, Will.
But yeah, after that, I, for reasons of inability to continue working and playing video games, started clinging to certain TV shows that give me comfort. I rewatched all of The Office 1.5 times. I
Nice.
Whoa.
watched all of Parks and Recreation, which I had never watched before, so check that off my list.
Nice.
Went back through all of Community. That was very pleasing. I always
One of the best
forget-
shows ever.
Absolutely, it's so incredible. The meta textuality is just on point in that show.
Yeah.
And then mostly just been watching things. Actually, watching
sounds
things.
That's been a
Sweet.
lot of it. Yeah.
Talking to friends and family, and yeah, that's about it.
I'll say you reminded me that another positive from this is one of my favorite shows of all times is Scrubs, and I'm finally getting my wife to
Nice.
watch through the whole thing. She's enjoying finally
Yes.
the first
Awesome.
time through, so I'm getting to kind of like relive my high school years of watching Scrubs with her.
Nice.
It's pretty great.
Awesome.
Ollie, what have you been up to, man?
I've been up to a lot. Winding down from the other job was really nice because the new job I like a lot better. It's a lot more balanced with my time. And so I've been using this time to just kind of like everybody else. I've been doing a lot of cleaning around the apartment. I've been kind of dusting off and neatly arranging more of my collection around my room and like hanging up posters, framing things. I can't get some of the supplies that I want for framing, but that's okay. But aside from that, I've just been doing a lot of nerd on work, a lot of work, a lot of potatoing
Rihanna.
with my heated
That's
cape
the verb now.
and my cat.
Which is
But
behind you.
yeah, just kind of I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14 as I mentioned in previous like updates. But a very special game came out this weekend. I won't talk about it too much because I know it's a sore subject because somebody in this room wants to play it and
I
can't.
know
right now.
Kakarot. I wish I could play it.
It's not Kakarot. It's Final Fantasy 7 remake, which is glorious.
Damn,
and
gotta
I've
do
been
it to
playing
Josh
that.
like that.
Paddington.
There comes Josh.
You hate to
Train
see
Spotting.
it.
What's
hate
this?
to
What's
Paddington
this?
2, Train Spotting.
But yeah, that's going to be my existence for a while. Is Final Fantasy 7, and then Animal Crossing here and there.
Nice.
Diablo late nights with you guys.
Oh, and I got.
Are you
Final
just trying to
Fantasy
punch
14.
all of us right now? You're going to Animal Crossing, Final Fantasy. What are you going to say? Kakarot to me?
Kakarot.
What are you doing? What are you doing, man?
Just making sure we feel the inadequacy.
We all still
yeah.
hate
And for
ourselves.
Will, I have some death metal playing in the background.
DF. All right.
Josh, what you been up to, man?
Strangely, it hasn't been a watching time. It's been mainly it's been a very self-reflective time for me. It's been a time to focus
Yeah.
on my mental health. Really,
Mm-hmm. That's good.
because
If not now, more than ever, yeah.
I mean, the thing that Bonnie and I we've come to for us personally is that this has been kind of the best thing that could ever have happened for us. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, there are things about it that are economic anxiety points. And it does provide a little bit of stress in that instance, but it also removes some stresses. Not having to go in, not driving in traffic, day-to-day stressors that maybe my anxiety could not handle. And
I'm saving a ton of money on gas right now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that
Oh
much.
my
Oh, yeah.
gosh. Yeah. Mhm.
so it has removed those stressors and provided time to focus on my mental health. Developing a morning ritual of meditating and reading and getting centered has been incredibly helpful for me. And so from like kind of the nerdy side of things for me, it's been an opportunity to play video games, really. I have not been watching a lot of things. I'll catch up on my weekly shows like The Walking Dead or Better Things, other shows like that. But yeah, it's been mainly playing video games, Diablo, a lot of Diablo.
Yeah, man.
On Switch.
If there's an anime you think you might be wanting to get into, try tossing that in the background every now and again. It's working with me in Dragon Ball.
Hell yeah.
I have a hard
I'm so
time
proud
with
of you.
doing multiple medias at the same time, but Diablo probably is one of those things that I could because it's such like there's so much chaos. Oh,
Yeah, might be calming.
It's good for that and like maybe not FF7. You want to pay attention to that game, but other
yeah,
games.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Everyone listening right now, we are still recording remotely for all our audio listeners who are not watching.
Yes.
It. So
Yes.
yeah, just keep that in mind in case we all like mess up every once in a while. We'll be like, did we just lose connection?
Yeah.
That is the 100%
Fair
the
point.
new nature how podcasts have changed.
So yeah, a lot of video gaining. Yes, I'm so
Getting those video gains in.
video gains.
Gonna get so video game swole.
A lot of
Yeah,
walking.
Josh is on that Diablo.
a lot of getting
Oh, yeah?
a lot of getting things done around the house. Like Bonnie and I did like an inventory of everything that needs to be done in the house, and it's like it was a lot more than we thought that there was. So it's like every day we'll pick something, whether it's big or small, like cleaning the vents or mopping the floors or stuff like that, where it's like, okay, cool. There's stuff to do. We've done all of the gardening. There's nothing else left
Of course.
to do.
Nice.
Y'all do all the gardening anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't a hard one.
Yeah.
They're just looking like, oh, let's do gardening again.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do gardening again.
let's do
We'll get to the
gardening.
other stuff
We
later.
picked all the tomatoes already.
Yeah.
20 days of gardening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
For those of you who don't know, because you don't see the stuff, sometimes we'll come to record the podcast and then we'll record and we'll come back out and there will be bags of fruit
yeah.
and citrus
Produce.
that Bonnie has
I hope
left
you're doing
for
stuff
us
with all
to
that.
take home.
yeah.
Are you like preserving any of it? Like, what are you doing with? Do you have
Oh,
any
you should make
spare
some
fruit?
jam.
Yeah,
I
what do you
mean-
got going on? What's your harvest right now?
Well, I mean, everything's
It's
in
your Animal
because
Crossing right now.
it just hit the season where things can be planted. So it's like really everything's just been planted, and cilantro is the thing that it grows the fastest. We've got beets
Good.
going. We've got
Delicious.
potatoes. We have so many tomatoes, squashes, different
Nice.
kinds of squashes. The artichoke, fun fact, takes a really long time to grow. So it took like a year, and finally we got an artichoke.
And
like
then you
2 or
barely
3.
even have anything
Singular
to eat
artichoke.
out of it. You just eat
Yeah.
the
Are
heart.
Are you familiar
It's such
with grafting
Yeah.
in trees?
Yeah.
So, like, for those of you who don't know what that is, a lemon tree typically takes, I believe, if I'm correct, an average of 10 years to produce fruit.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll take the top of a baby lemon tree and cut it, and they'll graft it with like literally like glue onto an older root. What would you call that? Like the bottom half, the root,
Yeah.
root
Oh,
of the tree,
the root of the tree.
and it'll force it to produce fruit
Yeah.
within the first year.
Yeah.
And
Whoa.
the strange thing about it though is it's not always a lemon tree root. It'll be some other plant.
Yeah,
And what
that's how
happens
you
is
can do
sometimes they'll put
hybrids
the
and
lemon.
whatnot.
Sometimes they'll put the lemon tree on top, and the roots will take over, and it'll grow the wrong fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, like just
Whoa.
let the
bizarre.
roots take over the. It's like if you
Yeah.
got a
At least
transplant
I
and then
was-
you became the other person.
I'll have to do a little more research, but I was told this when I worked in the garden center by this guy who'd been running the garden center for like 40 years. So I believe him, but maybe the sun got to him. So we'll
or that's just
don't take my word on it, but that's what I was told.
I feel like that's the premise of a horror film where like someone gets a heart transplant and then they become that other person instead of themselves.
And they're like a demonic killer. Yeah.
Well, Robin Williams had a bit about that before he passed where he got like a pig heart and he's like, I'm really good at finding truffles now. I believe that's what it was. Or it was a horse heart. I don't remember. One of the two. And he made a joke about that. He's like, I'm just like, I got these weird side effects. Like,
well, I did that with an avocado tree. You can grow an avocado from a grocery store. You can grow that, but most times, and this is just based on my understanding, most times avocados, like right out of the seed, do not produce fruit. You have to graft it with one that already has, that is already. So I was able to get a hold of like the bottom half of a producing avocado tree and grafted it with the one that I grew. And
with glue?
No, it was tape. It was like sticks and tape.
And same thing. Yeah, like I'm telling you, the way they do it is there's no scientific method. They're just like fucking get on there.
Gardening or us.
It's like
stay.
And if you want more of that conversation, go over to our Discord.
Exactly.
There's a whole channel about it.
But yeah, I mean, it's really just kind of staying busy, staying sane, a lot of fucking meditating. Be real honest. Sometimes I'm in this studio with the lights real low, meditation music going because I have a lot of anxiety and it's for stupid shit sometimes. And sometimes I just need to like calm the fuck down. And if that takes me a couple of hours, then it takes me a couple of hours. So
Josh has 2 orders: stay at home and calm the fuck down.
Calm the fuck down.
Hey man, I cannot say enough how grateful I am that before all this shit happens, I got my antidepressant medication because this would be fucked right now.
I'm sure.
So I get it.
What about you, Tom?
For me, what have I been up to?
I know that you have really taken on to this life.
First thing, I started growing out my face because it takes me 10 years. Like a lemon tree, it takes 10 years to grow. It takes me 10 years to grow any
You have to graft a full beard to your face.
That's right, Molly. I'm going to come over. I'm going to graft you a little bit on me. It's going to look a little Barbie-ish, but it'll work out.
Just use some glue or tape. It'll be fine.
Yes.
If you were cast in Jumanji, this is what you would look like when you came in from the looking like a caveman. You just be this mustache.
That's the expensive stuff. You gotta use toothpaste. Use toothpaste to put that back.
Yeah.
Like how you have a wall, like all the holes in your wall. You just put toothpaste. They'll never know. It's a perfect crime.
If you if you're not already, you guys owe it to yourself to watch the video version of this podcast just to see.
Yeah.
Tom's
but
stash.
also, I mean, this is also working in my favor because once the MCU is back in order, I'll be able to audition for Fu Manchu, the villain of.
Oh no!
Can we call that a Corrin stash?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he just did.
For real though, I have like Corey, we work on multiple projects at the same time. And, we're on post-production of one project. We're in pre-production of another project. Well, that's in production. So we're like working on that. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to work from home. And so it's kind of like, if I can do this for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be mad because the commute isn't bad from my bed to my desk. My bed is right behind me. So like, it's pretty great. And I've been reading a bunch of scripts, more reading than actual writing. And that's one thing that I've wanted to do that I haven't had the chance to. But recently, just that after the time of this recording, like a few days ago, I finally started to sit down and started writing something. And I'm really kind of like liking a little bit of like what this mindset has had put me in because I'm starting to think things a little differently now. And I'm starting to watch a lot of things differently. Again, at the time of this recording, work actually, I work in a warehouse and they're like, hey, if you want to come in, you can because you'll be all by yourself. And so I'm like, sure, as long as I can keep getting paid. Because I mean, that's the tough thing too. Like, Will, we were talking about it where it's very, very fortunate and we're very grateful to be able to continue to work because not a lot of people have. And as Caitlin was saying, like, it's like such a real tragedy to like actually hear about those instances where people have been furloughed and people have been like forced to not work. And I, for me, like that's one of my nightmares. Like if that's something that gives me anxiety, it's like I can't be able to provide for myself and do that kind of stuff. But like I can't even imagine what it'd be like for someone that has someone to care for, to someone that they're beholden to, like a child or like a significant other. So I'm super fortunate. I'm taking every single day into consideration. And like on Twitter, I'm doing like a gratitude thing that I used to do on Facebook because of the Bird Brain podcast. Shout out. He put me on it. Isaiah. But yeah, honestly, it's been a lot of reconnecting with people. And now me and friends from my fraternity, we're doing happy hours, and we'll talk and chat and stuff like that. And like in my fraternity, I was like very much like the guy that stayed to the books and I focused on film, and I was there for a lot of like the social aspects until my senior year. Then I went balls to the wall. But then that's what a lot of people remember me as, like the guy that went balls to the wall. So I'm like, I'm not mad with that. But actually, because of that, I recently did a career fair, a Zoom career fair, which was really cool. And I got a chance to talk to undergrads about like what my profession was. And then so when they asked like, hey, we need somebody, like, hey, are you willing to be in it? I was like, sure. I was like, they're going to ask someone for a film. I'm like, I'm happy about that. Right. And then when they bring me up as a panelist, they're like, and then we have from our entrepreneurial side, Tom. I was like, what? Whoa, what? I'm an entrepreneur. And I was like, I guess
Yes,
that's
Tom,
fine.
you are.
So
Yeah.
it was like very,
We is,
it was
son.
it was very interesting. But you know, I talked to my parents a lot more. I've been playing Diablo until like 4 a.m., which is terrible for your health.
Ooh. Yeah.
Especially if you wake up and still have to go to work. And I actually do have to physically now go to work. Before it was like I was able to be on my computer. It's fine. Now I gotta be and it's like not a full day because the people who are still working from home aren't doing like full days. So like when I do physical work, it's still not like a full day. So we're being very safe about it. We got gloves and masks and all that stuff. You can ask Caitlin and Corey when I went to go drop off some of our equipment,
yeah,
like
when you
our
came
Odyssey
by.
headphones. I'm like, I'm look like Fallout. You know, I have like everything,
Yeah.
all my gear going on. No, I've been watching a crap ton of anime. I've been trying to do a lot, and also like in this time, I've watched I think the entire series of Golden Girls in the not the right order. Because while working, I just like let me put some on, and then I googled what shows to watch on YouTube, and then someone said there's a channel that has all the Golden Girl episodes. I was like, let me go watch that, and they're all in not the right order, and they're all like weird quality and stuff like that. But I'm like
different like stations and
yeah,
whatnot.
so
Now you
like,
get it.
yeah, but I was like, I love this show. I got the DVD from my mom a long time ago, the entire collection, and now that I'm now watching, I'm like, man, like
For the time, it was actually a pretty progressive show.
yeah, I was like Frasier and then Golden Girls like are the top two for me, baby. Like in terms of like the older generation like comedy shows. Oh my god. But now yeah, just trying to find things to do. I'm also in that same pool of like I'm pretty liberated to be kind of at home. And doing a lot of things. I'm finding out more and more that how much more of an introvert that I actually am, and I just put on the extrovert face when I need to. But no, reading comic books too. It's like, yeah, there's so many things for me to do. And I'm like, I can like Legend of Zelda in my own room, you know? So it's like,
yeah, right.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to add real quick. I am being able to work from home is like something that I am incredibly grateful for. Like, and having work come in is like, I mean, to Caitlin's point, is like that's why it was so important for me to have a broadcast quality studio at home, because what if somebody needs me to work from
Right.
home?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
never planned on it being in this situation, but
Nope.
I do have. It's been nice that work has been coming in and all that kind of stuff. So that's been a huge gratitude.
All the
moment.
money I feel like I've wasted. I mean, I probably still have wasted some of it, but all the money I've spent on my station has definitely prepared me for being able to work.
Now it's an investment.
Yeah.
Now it's paying off.
Before we actually transition to our second part of the show, I do want to do a round robin with everybody. If just mention one thing that we found that has been a positive, cool thing that's happened in result of what's been going on. I think
I feel like that was my whole thing.
Well, I was going to say like this. For me, I'm really glad to see that.
Maybe one you didn't expect.
Yeah, one thing I'm really glad is to see all the late night shows continue.
Gotcha.
And every single video are all fundraisers for Feeding America, which I think is great. And that like things like that have really kind of like spoken to me of like this is what we can be, like, and we should definitely try re-examining what we do. Like I recently just watched a Twitch stream where like all these celebrities, and Kevin Smith was promoting it. All these celebrities were playing poker, and all the proceeds went to Feeding America. Like Ben Affleck was in there, Tobey Maguire's in there, the big gambly actors are in there. I'm like, damn, baby. Like, and I thought that was just so cool. And I think, the attention could be more towards that in terms of like positivity. Obviously, stay informed as much as possible. I do an hour a day of news, and then I peace out. But then trying to find like some great positive things because it could get really drab. Like never. I was driving home. I was listening to the radio. Don't. Everything is just like, are you depressed? Is this? I'm like, dude, stop. Just stop. No. Listen to a podcast or something like that. Anyone else?
I mean, like as a result of this, like grand scheme things, I think that this is going to force. What I'm seeing is, I think that this will draw attention to the way people connect digitally, and I mean, like for instance, us personally having to find ways to keep doing this, to keep creating content. That's something that we love so much, to be able to create content for our audience. It's so awesome to have so many ways to digitally connect. And I think that what I think is going to happen is that maybe more research will be done, or more people will continue to make these kinds of things better.
It's interesting. Yeah, the sort of industries that start to get more research and funding are the ones that, seem to be the most desperately needed at the time.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's
or government funded.
It's very cool that
Or both.
you're able to still connect. And I love that we're doing this right now. I can see all of your faces, and I love it. I miss you guys hardcore.
Miss you all too.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Anyone else?
I would say, go ahead.
No, please. Well,
I would say on a small scale, much like what Corey was saying, the ability to, first of all, spend a lot of time with my boyfriend that I was not able to spend before just because of work schedules and whatnot, has been a very positive experience. It feels like a gift. And then in terms of a grand scale, I feel like a lot of...
as
a lot of there he is right there.
Hello.
I feel like a lot of people who don't get enough credit for the work that they do every day, grocery store workers, people working in pharmacies and whatnot, are getting the attention that they deserve because they are essential workers as they are being officially labeled during this time. And so I'm very glad to see that at least there's some attention being brought to that fact that they deserve a little bit more than they're getting, in my opinion.
A holiday for them. I'm telling you.
Mine will be the same as Will's. I mean, I was just going to say, grand scheme of things is kind of just anyone. The fact that there is a even in discussion, whether it happens or not, that there is a hazard pay that may come to nurses and doctors in this time, I think is a huge step forward. And I think it's a long time coming. And if it doesn't happen, I think it'll be a shame. But I'm glad there's a conversation at least within the government that could be a thing. I mean, because they're going in there every day knowing that they are most likely going to catch whatever this is, and for some of them, the outcome could be fine, but for others, not so much.
It's like the true domestic soldier kind of.
Yeah, and so and then my personal one is definitely just being able to spend time with my wife, and I'm getting to show her all these films that I grew up with that she didn't. Like we've worked our way through City Slickers, Beverly Hills Cop. We're doing a movie called The Dream Team tonight. We're gonna do Bull Durham. Like I'm pretty stoked about that kind of stuff.
Caitlin?
I have been enjoying seeing communities come together a lot more. For especially small businesses and artists, and I feel like people are definitely going out of their way to try and support individuals more. Like we in the town I live in, we've already had a restaurant or two close permanently because they just couldn't, they couldn't deal. But there's so much more rallying around those small businesses to try and keep them open. So seeing everybody try and go the extra step, like someone I know bought like 40 sandwiches and was like, keep buying sandwiches, see how many we can like rack up. And, the people that can't afford it can go in and have one. And if you can't afford it, buy an extra one. Like,
that's awesome.
So there's been
my wife and I have been trying to we were just going to say the same thing. We've been trying to order in at least twice a week. We know whatever is financially responsible, but from our favorite restaurants, just trying to make sure that we're still getting business to them.
So. Yeah. And like the awareness is spreading a little bit more that places like Grubhub and Insta, whatever, like that it's always better to order directly from the restaurant.
Yes.
If you can, just because all of those services take a bigger cut out of the restaurants. And it's like kind of a damned if
Usually
you do,
upcharge you
damned if
anyways.
you don't. So like seeing the awareness of that spread a little more of like, yeah, these services cost money. They're just being put on the restaurant.
They cost the
so-
consumer and the business that you are
Right.
ordering from money.
Exactly. So seeing the kind of like, oh, we don't need all this extra stuff. We can just buy directly from you and support you directly. So seeing that has been a positive to me.
But I mean, also on the flip side of that, there are some restaurants that don't offer that. They don't offer a delivery or pickup service, but these services allow them to. So they still are able to, like,
I was gonna say.
I believe Grubhub or Postmates, I can't remember. On the weekends, they do local restaurants only, or like they do kind of like an event where they say these restaurants, we are not charging them fees. Order from them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's,
which is
that's
cool
kind
to,
of I didn't mean to phrase them wholly as like the devil. I
That's
know
what-
that
when
there's
the
a
possible.
difference.
opposite of what holy is, but okay.
When
DoorDash
possible,
does
yeah.
DoorDash does the same thing where they're not charging any local restaurants to me any
That's so good.
delivery fees.
But that, to your point, Caitlin, it's like it's drawing attention to those small businesses, those restaurants that you might not have even tried before.
Right.
And now you're kind of in a situation where it's like you said, Corey, where it's like, well, I'm going to order from a restaurant that's local and I'm supporting the business, which is dope. So,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but you can also like buy your groceries directly from a restaurant.
yeah.
Where like some of them have a menu of like, these are the things,
yeah.
this is the wholesale price. You can buy it from us directly, and it lets us keep our suppliers open and helps us keep us open. So that's all of that's been so cool.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Ollie?
For me, it's been you guys touched on a lot of kind of what I was going over, but mainly it was really cool to see a lot of the sort of, I guess, for like a better term, like corporate generosity, in the sense of like when these companies like Apple or Microsoft, when they're like stepping in to help their own employees, keep jobs as much as possible, and maintaining their like just like safe, precautious business practices. And then you see companies that don't. So it's, I don't want to name any companies.
I'll attest to that too. Like my roommate works for Universal, and they're paying him for like the next month, and he doesn't.
Wow.
Have to,
Nice.
He doesn't. I
Wow.
mean, he as much as he would want to work, he doesn't have to lift a finger. And I think that's the kind of like point where it's like that's the kind of leading by example that these bigger corporations should be doing. And
well,
for any
every
reason that
company
they're
on
not.
the face of the planet is showing their true colors. I think now,
Yes.
and
Very much.
not that there's ever a world where it's hard to imagine a world without this stuff, but like when we reach that other side of the hill, whatever that looks like, we're not going to forget, it's like, you screwed me over when I needed you most versus, whatever. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the next like few years are going to be just from a social economic standpoint. And
The meme I have seen.
there's definitely going
most-
to be a lot of changes and shifts, and, they might not happen out of, all of a sudden, but I think we're going to see some major like social economic adjustments.
I mean,
let's
there's also,
say.
even key figures in the public eye are there's Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard aren't charging their tenants rent for the next 2 months.
Whoa.
awesome.
They're taking on all of
I
that.
know they
There's Bernie
manage
Sanders
property.
who's paying all of his staff's medical bills for the next foreseeable future. So like it's not even just on a business scale, it's also on a personal level that we're seeing these kind of things.
Yeah. The
So-
meme I have seen most prevalently for the last like month has been that, do you have any questions for us about the company? And it was like, how did you handle the crisis of COVID-19?
Yeah.
Like-
And to be clear, there, not every company is able to, provide these
No.
things. Some companies have to furlough. Some companies do have to lay off because they can't even afford to furlough because they don't know if they're even going to be
But
in existence.
there's that
at the
difference
end of
between a
this. So-
company and can and can't. And I think the ones that
Right.
can't, it's pretty obvious. Smaller businesses, mom and pop shops, I wouldn't expect to keep paying their employees.
and they got bigger
even
fish
if,
to fry.
you know.
So
But like if you got a company that's a multi-million-dollar company and they're going like, well, we're just gonna lay everyone off. You're like, okay, well, don't see me shopping
well,
for you
show your
guys
hand.
in the near future. Yeah.
exactly. So
But just
that's been the positive of me, just because I feel like it'll be a net positive when everything sort of the dust settles as far as like how things are going to be running and all that stuff. So
swords revealing light. I feel you.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, that moves
Did we
us
all
on to
go
our
around?
next.
Did we all go round robin?
Yeah.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were planning on doing this episode, and then the idea came up where we can have Will kind of discuss, because he is actually you'll do a better job of explaining everything, but you've actually experienced a lot more about this firsthand than we have, and I think it's going to be pretty important for everybody. And I think where a podcast could be stronger than most media outlets and everything like that, you can go in depth and be a human about it. And I've always really respected your ability to be level-headed, even though you'll say some things on Twitter that I'll be like, damn, he was right though. So,
awesome.
So I appreciate
Gotta preach
that.
the truth,
baby.
baby.
I mean, yeah.
yeah.
Will, could you please? Yeah, could you
take it away,
man?
man?
Talk to us
Take
a
it
little bit
away.
about. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I unfortunately, but I am in some ways grateful, had firsthand experience of what it's like to live through COVID-19. And I thought I took every precaution. And in the end, it was actually love that really made me get the disease, because what happened was my boyfriend works in quality assurance for a pharmaceutical company that has pharmacies all across the country. And so he travels a good bit every quarter of the year. And his travel schedule happened to line up right with when things hit the fan. And so he was flying back from Florida through LAX, and I knew that was a risk. And we discussed me maybe grabbing some things and moving out, staying with my mom for a little while. But I just decided, I didn't want to force him to go through anything alone, even if he did end up getting it. And
or even risk getting
so
your mom
I stayed,
sick.
Exactly, yeah. So I stayed, and in just under 2 weeks, we both started to feel some strange symptoms. We both dealt with asthma, so the things we felt in our lungs were definitely different from anything we'd experienced, and we knew pretty quickly, this is not good. This is probably coronavirus. And so we got the test done. And at the time, it was a test that takes 6 days.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about it, please?
So it was a cup in a drive-through. They give you a cup, and then you go home, and in the morning you're supposed to cough into it, and then bring it back in the drive-through. And nowadays they have much faster testing at all sorts of locations. Usually, like 24 hours, you'll get your results.
Wow.
This was pretty early on, so it was 6 days of waiting. And a couple days after we got the test, in the middle of the night, we both had pretty significant shortness of breath, to the point where we got in the car and drove to the hospital at 4 a.m. And we were both, because we didn't have our results yet, we were both very afraid that we were just experiencing like panic attacks, essentially. And so we didn't want to go in the hospital, because if we didn't have it and then we went in the hospital, what if we just end up getting it there? So we waited in the parking lot for a good 45 minutes, and it calmed down enough that we felt safe and went back home. And pretty much the next morning, we got our results that we tested positive.
You're like, tell me something I didn't know.
And
at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I'm very grateful that the tests are faster now, because I would hope that anyone, who's concerned about going into a hospital and getting it would instead have the knowledge, I have this and I need to get treatment, rather than, and we did talk to a doctor on the phone. So we didn't just decide, we're totally good, we don't want to risk it. We did end up calling a doctor. But beyond that, my boyfriend actually started to feel better in a little less than a week. And
wow.
So did I. It was pretty much gone. And then I got the luck of the draw, where apparently a chunk of people who get this disease, after the first week, that's when the real symptoms hit, and it lasts for a little while longer. So in the span of 12 hours, I went from feeling totally fine to having no sense of smell or taste. My nose was bleeding. My eyes were running and extremely painful, red all around both of my eyes. I could
Whoa.
barely
God.
breathe.
Wow.
Intense stomach pain. I couldn't stand up or sit up even without feeling like I, was unable to breathe properly. So yeah, and I talked to a doctor, and apparently the best thing that you can do if you're not experiencing pneumonia, which would mean like blue fingertips and feeling dizzy when you stand up, anything less
Mhm.
than that, the best you can get is an inhaler, albuterol, which is
Yep.
like a steroidal inhaler. And since we both have had asthma in the past,
Oh
I
my
had one of
gosh.
those here, so I was very grateful for that. I was able to sort of lean on that whenever things got particularly
That's
bad,
some powerful
and that
stuff
was
too.
just over a week ago.
Albuterol is nothing to
Yeah, it was
shake a
pretty
finger
scary.
at. Yeah.
You got
Yeah,
pretty scary.
exactly.
You were saying?
It's a rescue inhaler for serious symptoms.
Yeah, that's
Whoa.
nuts.
Man.
That's an intense. I mean, obviously, we're super glad that you're feeling better and that that you are seeing the light. At the and not the bad one, but the good
Not the
one.
light,
good light.
not the light. You're-
Jesus.
The good, the good way, not the bad way. But like, yeah,
like
I
out
mean,
the
I
window
think
light. You're
it's great.
seeing,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Can I-
seeing
can-
fresh air.
Can I ask some questions? Like
Yeah.
at the time of this
Mhm.
recording, where are you at in the process? Like, is it gone? Like, where are you in this like healing process or whatever?
So I first had symptoms just over 2 weeks ago. It would be 2 weeks and 4 days ago that I first had any symptoms. And as of now, today is the best I've felt in a good while.
That's great.
Yesterday, I felt pretty great, but still had difficulty doing anything other than laying down. Today, I woke up and stood up and walked around the apartment and felt nothing. Felt nothing with my breathing other than just normal breathing. So it took
That's a good
me
sign.
a little over, like I'd say, 2.5 weeks to get to where I am
Wow.
today.
yeah,
Nice,
Okay.
crazy.
that's wonderful.
And you were saying a lot of those people
I mean,
who, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so I'm really glad that you talked about like people I think are very afraid to go somewhere to get information because they just don't want to
Mhm.
like you're talking about like going to a hospital and then contracting it there. I mean,
Right.
what would you as someone who went personally through it, like what would you tell yourself, like, hey, it doesn't matter, just go, or you know uh
I don't know what I would tell myself, just because with a 6-day test, I mean, it just comes down to what you personally
say.
decide at that point. But for anyone listening to this, I would say the tests are really fast now. If you have any suspicion, just go get tested. It's drive-through, so you're not putting yourself at risk if you do get tested. And being armed with that knowledge can really be helpful.
how much did it cost? Did it cost
Oh,
anything?
the test was free.
Test should be free. Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
think
good.
I've heard some people talk about like there's different types of tests, and then there's some tests that cost certain like 18.
There's
bucks or 20
scammers
bucks.
too, unfortunately, and
Something like that. So yeah,
even at these times, there's people who are taking advantage of other people and charging like $240. I heard.
yeah, that's smart. See,
Whoa.
like
For a
Test
knowing
that
that
it's a scam.
could be
They just take your
free,
money and
let everyone know.
they swab your cheek or whatever, and then they just drive off.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You should go with a reputable source, and it
Yeah.
should be free. It
Yeah.
should not cost you.
Wow.
If you don't mind, is there a reputable source like name or brand that like people can start looking for or anything like that?
I would say local hospitals. That's what I went with. I went with the local Kaiser Hospital in my neighborhood. So I would say, yeah, if you recognize the name, or if it's a hospital that you drive past around your house, that's the way to go.
Be suspicious of parking lot setups,
Agreed. Yes.
basically.
definitely.
No, I mean, I think it's kind of important. I mean, we talked about earlier how like a lot of misinformation happens a lot of the time. So it's like being very
Mhm.
explicit means a lot. Where it's like, hey, go somewhere you trust. It's like, well, I trust this neighborhood because I've always been. It's like, no, go do like a facility, an actual facility, because you can be like, I could take a picture and be like, is this the Yelp thing? Like, So I mean, what kind of delving into it, like what was your kind of like methodology of like cool. Like I now have the information that I am positive. I tested positive. Was it just like a matter of like, okay, nothing else matters, just focus on getting better? Like I'm assuming there's like a lot of people who worry about like well-being of everyone else and stuff like that.
Well, I was wondering if you don't mind talking about it. Like some of like because I'm trying to. This might be valuable information for however many people. Like what was do you mind talking about your diet as far as like before and afterwards? Did you have to adjust anything? Does that play a part in like recovery?
As far as my experience regarding diet, around when I first started having symptoms, I started having abdominal pain. And I wasn't sure at first if that was related to either like spicy foods, because I always eat spicy foods.
Sure.
Thai food, baby.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of toned it down to really bland food and like broths and whatnot. And once the symptoms got bad, though, I could not eat. I was not hungry at all. So pretty quickly, I was just no eating whatsoever, just drinking water. And Pedialyte. And then only in the last, like, I'd say 4 or 5 days ago, that's when I was able to start eating again. And I knew
Is that
I was
when like your taste
better.
returned?
Got it.
Is that when what, sorry?
Sorry, the taste. You lost your sense of taste for a little while. I'm sure that affected.
And it's still not completely back, actually. But for the first several days of eating, when I was able to eat again, I had zero taste whatsoever. It's a very strange sensation. Like, I don't know if any of you have had Szechuan peppercorns, but it reminds me of if you have too many Szechuan peppercorns and then you drink water and your tongue can't tell, like, does this taste like chicken broth or does this taste like nothing? Or
whoa,
kind of like a numbing effect on it.
Your taste buds are just like, I got nothing, man. I don't know.
Exactly. Very
I trust
strange.
you. This is good. I usually tell you if it's poison.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so now
going on with your own risk.
So now you explained to me in text message you're self-quarantine, so you're even more further than even any of us might be. I'm assuming, like, so I mean,
for a couple weeks now, since the testing positive just over like a week and a half ago, I've cut off all, like, even leaving the apartment, just because I don't want anyone in my apartment complex to catch it. So just been staying inside 100% of the time. My parents, my boyfriend's parents, have come by a couple of times to drop off some groceries for us, which has been a godsend. They just leave it by the door, and then we can just quickly like grab it and stay away from everyone, essentially.
It's like those trapdoor spiders. They're just like,
take it back exactly. It looks just like that. We just snatch it, get back in.
So how long then are you supposed to stay in full quarantine? Or is that, because like once you have it, kind of then what?
Yeah, that's something that is a little bit strange to me. So I we tested positive, and then based on where we were at, we were told that a week ago yesterday we would be okay to leave the apartment.
Wow.
And that was the day after I started feeling deathly ill. Like,
wow.
So I would, and beyond that, like, we both never had a fever throughout the entirety of this experience. Which is supposed to be the crucial detail that lets you know to get tested. So the information is really not all in yet. I would just tell everyone, be extra careful. Even if you don't have a fever, consider getting tested if you're feeling issues with your breathing in particular, because no fever. And, obviously the doctor said that we were able to be out and about last Saturday. I'm being way more careful than that. I don't even want to leave the apartment for another week or so.
Yeah.
Even though I'm feeling better today.
No, I think that's a very interesting thing. I think, part with the misinformation, you hear a lot of they say, or, experts say, or right now the research is blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of people say like, do this or do that. The most thing you could do is do what the government forces you to do, which is stay at home, wear a mask. and then just take more precaution, because there is no quote unquote fix. There is no like pure understanding of something that's quote unquote called novel in its name, because it's brand spanking new.
Exactly.
It's definitely smarter to err on the side of caution. I actually had a conversation with my doctor. There are certain types of heart conditions that are kind of like in a deadly combination with COVID. I don't have that one. However, her response is, we don't know enough to know that it's not extra dangerous to you with your condition. So she was like, so just pretend like you have the one that we know about and treat it like that. And I was like, oh, okay.
Whoa.
Cool.
Well,
So I'm on the extra cautious list of things, because there's so much we don't know. But we kind of have to apply what we do know from other things and kind of take it from there. But yeah, it's bizarre. It's a weird time to be like trying to determine what's safe and what's not.
Yeah.
Because we're here disinfecting everything we get from grocery stores. We're rubbing down cat litter bags, and we're like everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Flat surfaces every day for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Will, thank you so much for giving us like that firsthand experience. Thank you for joining us on this episode. I mean, the being so open and not even like you were just like, no, I'll talk about it.
Hell yeah.
No, I think it's super valuable, and I think and I hope other people that have recovered can talk about it and share it, because I think this is the true information point, because everyone, like you're right now, you're part of the fact that like not every symptom will come to play. And I think the more information we have, just on like a social level, not even on a government or medical level, of like, hey, just stay at home, do the things you may not experience, and you'll say like, this is what happened to me. I think those are super important.
Yeah. And the truth is, like, the more we hunker down and kind of stick to our guns right now, the sooner we're going to be able to slowly return to the day to day.
Yeah.
And it may suck. I shout out, I have a lot of loved ones and a lot of friends who aren't thriving in a sense in this kind of situation. Those extroverts who really do need that human contact. And I get on these phone calls with them, and it's heartbreaking. And I kind of have to be like, hey, I know what you're going through, but like, if you can push through it just a little bit longer, we'll be able to get back to the things you need much quicker.
Honestly, like, everyone has to kind of take it where it's like, you have to take it a day at a time, because that's what it is. Day to day, the whole thing will change. If anything, there's been the theme of this episode is like, in a matter of 72 hours, a matter of 12 hours, like, things will just change. So you, like, everyone, no one has a chance to take it like 1 week at a time, because no one travels through time, but just take it, each day.
Yeah. And like, if not for you, for others. That's kind of what I've been telling everyone,
Yeah.
I know you may feel like you're fine to go to the store or walk around the block in a crowded neighborhood, but like, don't if you don't need to.
Yeah.
If not for you, for others.
This is the time to assess everything twice,
Yeah. Oh,
before you make a
I
decision.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great.
Everybody at home, thank you for joining us for this very special episode. We do hope that everyone is safe, is healthy.
On the
Let
way
us
to
know how
recovery.
what was that? I'm sorry.
I was
cut
like,
you off.
also
Or on the way to recovery.
on the way to
Yes.
recovery as
Or
well.
on the
Yeah.
road.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Let us know how your experience is. Feel free to reach out. If anything, our Discord community has gotten busier during this time. It's really fantastic to see all the notifications. Consider joining nerdon.io/Discord. This is the time to connect. Really cool fucking people in there. Not just us, not just the Capeless Crusaders, but all of our fans that have joined, members of the Nerd On Nation.
Everybody.
Everybody that is in
audiences,
there.
Everybody in the club.
And it's sharing fun stuff. Video games, movies, TV shows, gardening was even a conversation recently.
Cosplay.
Streaming, people are streaming. Audience members can share their stream links. It's been a really great time. And so now is that time. If you are new to Nerd On, check out our website, nerdon.tv. It has all the information on everything that we do. Our episodes are on YouTube. It's been quite the experience. As you can see, we are doing everything remotely. It's a shifting experience every single week. We're using new tools this week versus what we were working with last week. So we're just trying to bring the best
It's like
content
an evolutionary
that we can to you.
process.
It's like a carnival of different
exactly.
programs that we go through every week to try to
to figure this
get this
out.
to you.
A menagerie of methodologies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. You know the drill.
Carnival.
As always, nerd on.
Ending broadcast.